Welcome back, my friends, to the trial that never ends. This is Research Roadshow, and it's December 8th, 2022, and we're going to pick up where we left off last week, talking about Eugene Yu and his many connections, no pun intended, to biologists, computational biologists, and bigwigs in New York, and various associated parties back in Europe, in particular in Amsterdam. So we left off last time talking about Donna Wang and some of her colleagues in the life sciences community. And today I want to start off with a comment made by Rick Olson, one of the few ospreys that actually live in the LA area. As you know, Rick and the 6 other ospreys were present in the courtroom, the Los Angeles Superior Court, on the 9th, 10th, and 11th of November in order to follow this trial. And it hasn't gone as expected. So a few days ago, I reached out to Rick Olson for an update, and he told me something very strange, or the email he sent back was kind of hard to interpret, and it sounded like he had been forced to play the piano and sing a song in order to get a copy of the transcript. I was tired, I read it wrong, but I didn't raise an eyebrow at that, but we've seen a lot in this trial. So the fact that the possibility that Rick had been asked to play the piano and sing a song to get what he was asking for wasn't all that out there. Anyway, I did get a hold of him finally to clear up the matter, and he mailed me back this transcript, a 350-page transcript, which is, by the way, the only significant transcript that we've been able to obtain, either from this trial, the trial in Texas with against True the Vote, or the original trial of 6 October up in Lansing, Michigan. This is the only one. All the others, I think there are 5 others, but they're all 3 or 4 or 5 pages long. This is the only significant transcript. So hat tip to Rick Olson for this one. Let's pull it up. Okay, Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles. Note the date. The date of this transcript was November 23rd. So that was already more than 2 weeks ago. This is where they had discussed the bail, returning the amount of the bail of $500,000. And to the best of our knowledge, according to Harry, the $500,000 was returned. Well, first of all, it was paid for. The person who posted the bail was Mike Lee, and we'll get into Mike Lee just a little bit later. But anyway, this transcript, they discuss the return of the bail. I misspoke. The defendant was ordered to submit to the electronic monitoring program with GPS through Pretrial Services Bureau. And we'll talk a little bit later about Pretrial Services Bureau. Anyway, in this particular case, Teresa T. Sullivan, the judge in the case, who was the second judge assigned, I think we've had two ulterior changes of the judge presiding over this case. I think we're on judge number 4 already. I could not get a hold of Rick before the show. I will try again after to confirm that we're on judge number 4. Obviously, the new justice has not had the time to adequately prepare to do all the background research necessary to adequately preside over the case. But for some reason, Judge number 3 did not feel himself fit to sit over the case. I don't know if he recused himself or exactly what happened. We'll get details later on. But the ankle bracelet with a GPS monitor, I believe Harry said that has been taken off of him, and he has been given back his passport. So he could be out of the country already, along with his wife, Donna Wang. They could both be out of the country, but we should not be saying, oh, well, that's it, let's all go home because he's out, he's free to go about his business. There's nothing for us to do anymore. Au contraire, this is just heating up because this trial and the 2 associated trials in Lansing and in Houston have given us enough metadata about how this whole operation is working that we don't need the physical presence of Mr. Eugene Yu any longer. The reason I say that is that for example, when I was speaking with Rick Olson, he explained to me that no, he did not have to actually play the piano in order to get what he was requested, but he did have some interactions with members of the George Gascon's office, and they were to Rick they seemed like very benign interactions, but to me they were significant because it shows that something is gradually turning in the larger machine. Something is turning. Up until now, and this became evident in the O.J. Simpson trial 25 years ago, which, by the way, was held in the same courtroom that Mr. Eugene Yu, the trial of Eugene Yu is being held in. I think it's room 30. There was an unwritten rule that both sides, the prosecuting attorney and the defense, had to pretend that the powers that be in Southern California or in Washington or in Brussels did not exist. There were, we talk a lot about the chess game on this channel. There were pieces being moved on the chessboard behind the scenes of the OJ trial. But officially, inside the courtroom, everyone had to pretend like those things didn't exist. What Rick Olson told me gave me the impression that now this was changing, that little by little, the prosecuting attorney had to kind of admit to these side deals, to not necessarily men behind the curtain, but to other parties external to the courtroom, having a say in what goes on. And this is most evident in the hallway arguments that were overheard by Rick and Supertick and Prometheum and some of the other Ospreys that were there in the courtroom. It was these deals being made in the hallway that took up most of the time of both the defense and the prosecution. The best example is that of the famous 350 terabyte drives that were eventually restituted to counsel for Mr. Yu, that this 350 terabytes officially didn't exist until around the fourth day of the trial, And then out in the hallway, they heard mention of it. The Ospreys heard mention of this device or devices, and they went to Luke Cizek the next day and asked him about this. And this forced Cizek to bring the 300. Well, I guess the matter of the 350 terabytes was already part of the argumentation. I mean, it doesn't appear here on this transcript, but it was part of the courtroom deal. But what it did was this asking Luke Cizek about these 350 terabytes told the prosecutor's office that there were outsiders aware of this trial and aware of the negotiations being done in the hallway. So little by little, they have to, we're forcing their hand in a certain sense. And I'd like to believe that the reason that they've assigned a new judge to the trial, to the case, is due to our insistence, especially Harry the Greek, who, when he gets a tip from one of the Ospreys, he writes a formal letter to the prosecutor's office or to the clerk of courts and shows them that there are people in the alternative news business that are key on finding out what is actually going on. So the reason that Mr. Yu was let go was part of some summary. Now I want to go back to this once again. This idea that he is a Chinese communist spy, and it's not me saying it, it's the FBI itself. He has been on the FBI's radar for at least 5 years. The FBI field office in Michigan accused him of being a spy, not me. Here we have a known or highly suspected, a person suspected of being a foreign spy on U.S. soil, operating a business on U.S. soil, and doing business with entities of the government, with agencies. I'm still not clear on whether or not Mr. Yu was tied directly to the Department of Homeland Security, but if he is, if that proves to be true, that is a very big black eye on both the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, because it means that they intentionally dealt with a communist spy and then let him go free. So what I'm driving at is this case is just beginning. For the Ospreys and for the larger community of truth seekers, this case has to become bigger and bigger. I'm going to mail a copy of this present transcript, the 350 pages, to every one of our subscribers. I'm going to first send it as is later today, and then in a few days I hope to send it with some markups so you can see the comments, in particular by people who were present at the trial, by Harry the Greek, by one of Harry's people down in Houston. And with those markups, maybe you can help pick on one or more threads in order to flesh out the case, to show some of the things, some of the missing links that we have yet to fill in. All right. So just to summarize the first part of the show, it's not time to give up yet. It's time to roll up our shirt sleeves and really dig into this case, because there's something for everybody. You know, like I said in the very first episode, this case will show that Konnech is connected to, or at least LJ Connections, was connected to various biology departments of universities in many parts of America. All right, where were we? The formal charge on Mr. Yu was embezzlement of public funds in the amount of $2.6 million. But one thing that the Ospreys helped uncover is that he was accused formally of other crimes, but they never made it onto the arrest warrant, or maybe they were on the arrest warrant, but he wasn't charged with them formally, something like that. So there is at every point. Here's where I started to talk earlier about the metadata. The fact that Harry the Greek has not been able to obtain 5 of the transcripts that he ordered, even waiting very patiently for 3 or 4 weeks and paying from something like from $50 to $250 each, he has not received those transcripts, is further evidence that the government or one or more agencies within the government is trying to withhold information from the public. Okay. I talked to Leah last night with Harry the Greek, and he said that one thing that citizens in every county affected by Konnech Voting Solutions, every person that knows about the case should be prepared to file a liability claim against the county, the County Board of Elections. I'll have to refresh with Harry later today exactly how to go about that. I think I'm going to have a dedicated show tomorrow or Saturday on exactly the route that Harry recommends in not filing a claim against a large entity like the Board of Elections, but Harry says you have to specifically name one individual, an elected individual, and sue him personally and go after his surety bond. The surety bond is let's say the safety net in case a public official gets sued by members of the community. Without that safety net, he's much less willing to hold public office. So the exact route of going after the surety bond deserves a good 45 minutes in itself. All right, where were we? Again, we have just recently, 2 days ago, we had the election or selection of Reverend Warnock over Herschel Walker, and people are still talking about it. People want to know. A lot of people are wondering whether or not there was election fraud, and there's in several precincts. We saw people coming out of the precinct complaining about certain inappropriate measures, certain incongruencies that should not have been there, especially after all the commotion of November 2020. So hopefully, if any of these complaints gets elevated, we can use them to show that Konnech was, and then this is the really, really surprising thing. Even after Truth of Vote came out with the name Konnech Voting Solutions, I think like well over a year ago, many counties in the United States continued to use them, and they said the formal excuse was, well, they were on contract for X number of years, and we'd hate to break the contract, or it's too complicated. It's way too complicated to change vendors right now. There's a whole bidding process, and we can't, in less than a year, we can't do all that. So we have to stick with Konnech. It's this kind of thing that the citizens have to be upset about and have to get in the face of their elected officials. There's no shortcut. Okay, I'm struggling to find the page I wanted to bring up, but there's something for everybody in this transcript. For example, when Judge Sullivan says that in the middle of one point, the prosecuting attorney was making a statement, and the Justice Sullivan interrupted and said, "No, we can't go that route. I'm declaring a 1358. I'm not exactly sure what a 1358 is, but it sounds like I'm going above your head, prosecuting attorney." And those are all little signs that something's not right. This trial is different. It's a big trial, and everyone needs to get involved, get his neighbors and friends involved. Like Harry continues to say, this is the biggest trial in 40 years. Okay, this transcript presents the overt acts with which Mr. Yu was formally charged, that he entered into a contract with the County of Los Angeles to provide poll worker management software. And essentially, it says that these 7 overt acts were things that he actually did. And he was charged with things that, only those things that we know he did. Everyone, thanks to True the Vote, knows that he did. And yet he was still let go. So reading through, when you get the marked up transcript, go through this section and ask yourself, if I or a close relative was on trial for any one of these overt acts, what is the possibility that he or she would get away scot-free? It should make you kind of upset as a U.S. citizen or as a citizen of your state that a foreign national, a known spy, can get away with each one of those things. But you, the tax-paying citizen, just being accused of one of these actions, you would be in court for months and months and months and probably wind up in jail. So it begs the question, what exactly is citizenship? What rights and or duties does a citizen have? As opposed to someone who, well, I guess technically Mr. Yu was a naturalized citizen, but he lived the first 27 years of his life outside the United States. And it's becoming more and more apparent that he had loyalty to either a foreign country, namely China, or to a higher power. Okay, this is an interesting individual. Mr. Louis Nabergoy. Louis Nabergoy is besides being project manager for Konnech's contract with the County of Los Angeles and several other counties in the United States, Mr. Nabergoy is also the head of a Blackrock division in Barcelona, Spain. What else? Where else is that? Where did I put that graphic? How's my sound, everybody? All right, I can't find the graphic that I wanted to show with Mr. Nabergoy's name. It was essentially his LinkedIn, or something like a LinkedIn, that showed that he had offices in Amsterdam and in Barcelona, Spain. So we have to wonder what kind of operation, if the contract with the city of Los Angeles is just for voting solutions. What are financial advisors in Europe doing as part of this contract? It's a little bit suspicious. In fact, more than a little bit suspicious. So I'm hopefully tomorrow I'm going to talk a little bit more about Mr. Nabergoy. I have not been able to find a photograph of him yet. All right, well, I'm trying to pull up the next graphic. Just want to give a short commercial announcement. Tonight on John O'Loughlin's channel, he will host Carol McIntosh and Corky Goss for the, they'll be talking about alternative energy. Corky will specifically get into some of Bob Greenier's research on the low energy nuclear material. So that's at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Please tune in for that and support Corky and Carol in their work. All right, where did I put the other document? I have a slight problem with file management. I'm working on it though. All right, a lot of the transcript has to do with the idea of trust, that the people of California placed trust in their elected officials, and through them, through members of the County Board of Elections, and through them, trust in Konnech Solutions and into Konnech's associates in other parts of the country. This idea that the people trusted these third parties with their data, with their very personal data, such as their home address, their phone number, etc., but even more personal in the sense of the there is a strong possibility that among the 350 terabytes there was also how they voted. And I've said several times throughout this series that I'm pretty much convinced that they've been recording how we vote for some time now, because that data would be very, very valuable to behavioral scientists and experts in AI, because that provides model validation. But let that go for now. I might do a separate show next Tuesday or Wednesday on that topic. But anyway, throughout this transcript, the idea of trust comes up again and again, and the idea that the public servant can betray the trust of the people and not be punished is a very recent phenomenon. Because I remember very well my grandfather talking about an issue, this is in the late 1970s, talking about the possibility that a local an official in Cuyahoga County had betrayed the public trust, and he and his neighbors were really up in arms about it. So when we see that a public official had given, had given the voter rolls and other information to a outside entity without verifying the steps taken by the third party, namely Konnech, to secure that information, to safeguard that information, it should make people very upset. Okay, I'm not finding my bookmarks. I'm gonna wrap it up right here for now, and continue again tomorrow when I'm a little bit more organized. The essential points are that we are making a difference. The presence of the Ospreys in the courtroom did make a difference, and now they are forced to slowly admit to external forces, large external forces, bearing down on this case. The greatest example is that Mr. Yu was extradited from Lansing, Michigan to LA on in a very, very short order. And so it shows that we have no documented proof yet that it was Adam Schiff, but it could be, and we're following several threads on that line of thinking. There are very powerful forces at play, but they are not. They still have to operate within this set of unwritten rules, where and the elected officials still have an oath of office to uphold, and they know that if they want to be reelected, they have to uphold that office. They have to at least go through the motions of guaranteeing a proper trial within the justice system in California. There is a slow breakdown in this, with inside the courtroom of this official pretending that outside forces don't exist. And a few days ago, Rick Olson handed a slip of paper with some of his notes to one member of the prosecutor's office, and the physical reaction of this member of the prosecutor's office when he got the sheet of paper from Rick showed that it took him kind of, this was in tennis you call it contropiede, a forced error. It took him by surprise, this slip of paper. because it showed again that the Ospreys were watching, and that meant the possibility that other members of the alternative press could be watching, and that they couldn't just shove this whole thing under the carpet as is their usual. Like I said, later today, I will send everyone a copy of this transcript as is. Hopefully by next Wednesday, a copy of the transcript with markups. And then we'll have a dedicated show where you can ask, a call-in show where you can ask questions. Hopefully we'll have Harry on for that, and a couple of the Ospreys who were present in the courtroom or who are following it closer than I am. I apologize for my inability to pull up the proper graphics today. Please tell your friends and neighbors that this is an important trial that they should be following regardless of where they are on the political spectrum. Because if a foreign national can get away like this and not be subject to the not be subject to our laws and customs here in the States, then it could get much worse for you or your loved one, regardless of your or his political affiliation, or whichever way the political wind is blowing in your county. It could get much, much worse. We have to pursue this trial for everything it's worth. All right. Thanks for bearing with me, and I hope to see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and please support Harry's channel, newsothersmiss.com and brassballs.blog. Thanks again, and have a good Thursday.